Have you ever stumbled onto something that made you change how you saw reality itself? When you realize the story isn't over, but only getting darker, that's when things start to unravel. Tonight, on Mystic Monday, we're returning to Gumter's farm, a place where something inhuman wears the face of family. And if you're new here, Mystic Monday is where we dive into the eerie, the unexplained, and the stories that live between nightmares and the truth. If you have a story of your own, something unexplained, creepy, or straight up paranormal, email me at themysticmusecreations@gmail.com for your story to be featured for the next episode. Now let's get into the final chapter of Devin and Lola's freaky road trip story. I never thought I'd return to Gumter's farm, but life has a funny way of pushing you back towards the places you swore you'd never see again. It took almost a full day to find the same dirt road with those strange signs that had led us down that path before. By the time I got there, the sun was setting, and I wasn't about to be out here in the dark, so I waited until morning. Lola decided to stay at home this time. Her condition had gotten even worse from the last trip, and the doctors had her on strict bed rest. Her mom wasn't thrilled about me leaving her alone either. Even with the story I had told them about having to take a work trip, but I had to go back. I needed answers. Finally, I pulled up to Gumter's farm. Arthur's old pickup was still parked out front. I half expected to hear those awful birds again, the ones that sound like screaming people, but the air was silent. The front door was open. Dust covered the floor like no one had been there for a couple of days. Arthur? Ruthy? No answer. The shotgun Arthur had once kept by the front door was gone. The kitchen looked almost normal. A couple dirty plates, like someone had recently eaten. The guest room, where Lola and I had stayed once before, looked untouched. I headed upstairs. The first door was open. It was a little boy's room. A small bed, old toys, and a name painted over the wall. Jonathan. The second room was the bathroom, bright with yellow daisies. The third door, I'll never forget. Ruth was there, lying in bed, peacefully, like she had just drifted off. But the smell told all of the truth. Oh my goodness. She had been gone for days. Poor Ruthie. Still no sign of Arthur, though. I went outside to get some air, and that's when I noticed the big shed nearby. Inside were the same road signs that Lola and I had seen that night, the ones that led us in circles. There was even one that said freeway entrance left 1 mile. And if y'all remember from part one, that was what Devin was stressing, that he distinctly remembered that he needed to make a left. But they wound up making a right, and that's how all of this wound up happening. But I digress. And then, at the back of the shed, I found something that chilled me to the core. A small cot sat in the corner, rusted, torn mattress, chew toys scattered around. And above the bed, painted in big block letters, there was a name, Christopher. That was the boy's name, the one that they never talked about. When I kicked the dirt near the bed, it hit something heavy, a chain. I ran to the bed frame to see the metal pole bolted out from the floor, and at the end of it, a broken shackle. I dropped it and I backed out, fast. If Arthur was still alive, this was the last place he'd want me to be. Then I saw it, a shape beneath a large apple tree at the far end of the property. Arthur's words echoed in my mind. Mine's under the apple tree. As I got closer, I realized what I was looking at. Arthur was there, sitting against the trunk. The top of his skull was gone. The shotgun still rested in his mouth. His body was torn, scratched, and bitten, like he'd been mauled by something before he pulled the trigger. Beside him stood a wooden cross carved with one name on it, Jonathan. That's when I understood. When he said his was under the apple tree, he meant his son. But what about the other boy? I found a photo in Arthur's hand, a family portrait taken decades ago. A younger Arthur, smiling next to a younger Ruthy, and two boys. One small, bright eyed, and the other tall, too thin, and his face scratched out. The longer I looked, the sicker I felt. The older boy's arms, legs, they didn't look right. It was the same shape I had seen that night through the window, pretending to be a human. That thing was Christopher, and now I knew that Arthur had been trying to warn me about him the entire time. When Lola and I got home, she had gotten sicker and sicker until the doctor made a shocking discovery. She wasn't just carrying one baby, she was carrying two. Jesus Christ, I probably would be freaked out about that too. Because what? They told us that it was rare, but possible, to miss a twin on an ultrasound. But I knew better. Arthur's voice came back to me. If she has two, take the little one and run. He wasn't talking about a baby mix up. He was warning me about this. When Ruthy had gave us the box of old baby clothes, I noticed something strange. Every set came in a pair of two, one normal sized and the other much too big, like she had been dressing two babies. But one of them had grown into something else. And I realized something even worse. That night that Lola screamed, the one time I left her alone, that's when it must have happened. That's when it got to her. Arthur once told me about the birds that lay their eggs in other birds' nests. Brute parasites, he called them. They sneak their offspring in, forcing another mother to raise them as their own. That's what Christopher was. That's what all of them were. Those things in the woods that cried like children. They left one of their own inside of her, their egg. And Melanie didn't remember a thing from that night, but I remember every second. When I looked at her stomach weeks later, there was a faint white scar around her navel, shaped like a ring, like something had been placed inside of her. Arthur must have tried to kill Christopher after Ruthy died, and when he realized he couldn't win, he took his own life. By the time I reached my car, my hands were shaking. My phone finally buzzed with service. 3 missed calls. 2 from Lola and 1 from her mom. A text popped up. It's happening. She was in labor. I hit the gas, flying down the dirt road. And just when I turned off towards the highway, I thought I heard it again, carried in the desert wind. A cry, high-pitched, almost human. Ma! Ooh, honey, that was the story. If you made it this far, you already know that this wasn't just a story of horror. It was clearly a warning that some things don't die. They just find new nests. But thank you for joining me for another Mystic Monday spooky storytime submission. Remember, every story has a spirit, and I'd love to hear yours. If you have a tale of magic, mystery, or the supernatural, again, be sure to send it into the email for a chance for it to be featured. If you'd like a deeper dive, you can always book a private session with me for a tarot reading or swing by the shop for any of your metaphysical or spiritual needs. All links will be included in the description. But until next time, my hoodlums, remember to drink your water, mind your business, and stay prayed up and protected. I'll be back with another episode, if the spirits allow it. Luna loves you. Ta-ta for now.